Let's bring you the latest news updates we have in the studio. And fisher folk at the Anglo Beach and 10 other communities in the Western region, they've adopted safe fishing practices to ensure there's fish for future generations in the Pra estuary. Well, they've come up with regulations such as fishing in non-designated spots and using bigger nets to avoid catching fingerlings, for which they could be fined if they break the rules. And it appears to be working, as JoyNews Adelaide Arthur found out from Anglo Beach, where the USAID is supporting sustainable fishing practices.
A welcome song from women of Anglo Beach, for whom fish processing is a major livelihood. But fishermen and fishmongers here, like those in other coastal communities, have been struggling with low catch due to declining fish stocks. And so, when the USAID Sustainable Fisheries Management Project initiated an intervention to ensure there is fish for the future, it was a welcome relief for community members. Locals from 11 neighboring communities are now managing tilapia harvesting by instituting their own closed season under the supervision of Friends of the Nation, which is partnering USAID SFMP.
So they realized that the estuary is the point of entry for the fishes. So they chose that place as a closed area, so which means that that place will be permanently closed to fishing activities. So the Bedoji that they chose as closed season was as a result of May to July. They said that this is the season that you will see most of the fishes spawning. When I talk about fishes spawning, that's the pregnant fishes, they will give birth. That's where you see most of them spawning. So they even themselves, out of this project, they even know that, oh, we have some places that when we go, we know that the fishes that you catch them, most of them are fingerlings. So we should protect them.
A few minutes' drive from the Anglo Beach community is a woodlot plantation where 10 acres of acacia trees have been planted. This is an alternative for wood being offered to fish processors who use mangroves to smoke fish. The move is necessary to ensure mangroves, which serve as breeding grounds for fish, are conserved.
Every fish processor is entitled to 2 plots, but it comes at a fee because of sustainability purposes. We subsidize it for you to cut it for 2 months. After the 2 months, then you leave it for it to grow by itself again. Then we continue to cut it. We started 2015 to plant this woodlot, the acacia woodlot plantation, and by 2020 they should start harvesting the first plant.
Some residents believe this conservation practice will benefit communities along the Pra River and want lawbreakers punished.
The
rules must be enforced so that people will stop disposing refuse into the sea and using unapproved net to fish. I have even learned that plastic bags are harmful to fish. Those who flout the law should be punished.
The locals, according to Friends of the Nation, now appreciate why they need to jealously protect the Pra estuary, a great spot for fish breeding. Adelaide Arthur, JoyNews, Anglo Beach, Western Region.
And already the director of Hienempwano, a coastal management non-governmental organization, Kofi Agbogan, is calling for a review of the Fisheries Act 235 to provide clear guidance on how local participation in fisheries management should be implemented. The National Co-Management Policy, which government expects to adopt soon, will ultimately empower chief fishermen and local leaders to enforce laws on sustainable fishing practices and also apply sanctions. But according to Mr. Agbogan, the current Fisheries Act does not provide legal backing to local leaders to perform this function.
The simple definition of co-management is involving fishers in aspects of the management of the fisheries. The current law as it is does not give them the mandate for full implementation. For that reason, there is the need to have a few sentences in the revised act that will speak to the issues of co-management. so that in doing this collaboration, everybody knows that there is a law behind them. Otherwise, fishers will take certain decisions, and when you go up and up, they'll ask you who has authorized you. So we think that there has to be some level of authority for them. Besides that, in doing co-management, they also need money. They also need funds, not money that will go into their pockets, but money and other resources that will facilitate their work. For instance, committee meetings. For instance, travels to meet with others and learn and share. The law must make provision for funding to be available for such committees to be able to operate. Otherwise, they will be stillborn.
Well, let's move on. A professor of tourism at the University of Cape Coast is calling for a leisure policy in Ghana to shore up productivity, innovation, and also to reduce the level of stress-related diseases in Ghana. According to Professor Eric Amokwanda, there is no regard for leisure in the country. A situation, he says, makes parents subject their kindergarten pupils to go for extra classes. Reflecting on the leisure situations in Ghana at his inaugural lecture at the University of Cape Coast, Professor Amokwanda was convinced the lack of innovation, creativity and productivity in Ghana is attributable to a complete disregard for leisure in Ghana. Richard Kwejonako has more.
In Ghana, most parents consider leisure participation as a waste of time and therefore prefer to enroll their wards in extra classes. We find ourselves in a period that nursery people are even engaged in extra classes.
That's Professor Eric Amokwanda, a professor of tourism at the University of Cape Coast, expressing his dissatisfaction at how some parents completely disregard the essence of leisure when schools have mandatorily vacated to enable school pupils take a rest. According to him, countries like Japan, US, and the rest have leisure policies that keep its citizens active always. He alluded to biblical analogies in Genesis, where God, even after creation, took a day off not only to rest, but also to reflect on all that He's made. The concept of rest, he explains, is also embedded in the Ghanaian culture, where most of our traditional societies rely on taboos to provide rest for their residents and other life, such as plants and animals. In the coastal areas, for instance, fishermen were barred from going fishing on Tuesdays, while their counterparts in the farming communities are prevented from going to farm on certain days. Professor Amokwanda believes non-compliance of these stifles creativity and innovation and creates a dormant society. He is unhappy about the sorry state in which roads leading to some tourist sites and some unsafe sites in the country.
On the average, 4 people get drowned along the Ghanaian coast on each public holidays. On 1st July 2015, about 20 children sustained various degrees of injuries as a result of collapse of Bunsu Canopy Walkway. Our leisure sites have to be safe, but unfortunately, people go and they don't return home. From Cape Coast to Kakum is just 30 kilometers, but it takes drivers, visitors, more than an hour to get to Kakum. And if you visit TripAdvisor sites, you realize that the attention is on the road more than the canopy walkway. The road has become an attraction.
He is calling for a strict enforcement for periods allowed for rest for workers, students, and improvements in the country's leisure sites.
We are not simulating the interests of our children in leisure. Parents, you don't go on leave. So as I stand here, my daughters will be asking, what is daddy talking about? Because they have not seen me going on leave or going on vacation. We need to get leisure models and leisure champions.
Richard Kwejunyako, Joy News, Cape Coast.
Giving to the poor is a virtue many religious, charity and other organizations uphold. More often than not, donors hand items over to beneficiaries, mostly the poor and the vulnerable, who have little or nothing to choose from. On the occasion of Easter, the Grace Baptist Church at Amukum, Kumasi, changed the age-old order by giving needy people a choice.
Call it a bent-down boutique, and you not be far from right. People from across Kumasi are allowed to choose whatever they fancy. Every form of apparel is available to stock a depleting wardrobe. Papa Mensa tries on a number of suits in a bid to settle on the most fitting. This one fits, but sleeves seem a bit longer. He then moves to footwear section to get his size. I've gotten a striped suit I can use for church. I'm a member of the Presbyterian Church. I thought I was late, but I have what I want.
Presbyterian Church.
The young ones also heard of the bazaar, and they couldn't wait to pick a shirt or a pair of jeans.
Because I'm so happy, you know.
The biggest of the rooms, perhaps, is the one stocking women and children's wear. From stilettos to brassiers, girls and female adults can't get enough. The gesture in its second year is part of activities marking the church's 50th anniversary, which also coincides with Easter.
As Christians, we are to help others, not ourselves. So that's why we are inviting the community to come and pick. We have shirts, coats, and so many things for ladies and men's wear, children's wear, so that within the community, those who are underprivileged will get something to wear to go to church, so that they can serve God very well.
Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
The news: in an ever-changing world where technology and modernity are at the driver's seat, businesses often are left with no option but to strategize to woo the consuming public. And this calls for ingenuity and thinking outside the box to boost modern businesses. And that is exactly what a restaurant in one of the interesting points in Cape Town, South Africa, has succeeded in doing to woo members of the public to its services. Prince Apia was in Cape Town and report on how the Quayfor restaurant and tavern provides husband daycare as a way to lure customers to patronize their business.
So bring your husband here and we'll take care of your husband for you. This is the job that this restaurant does here in Cape Town, South Africa. Now they don't only take care of your husband for you, it is a genius way of attracting customers to come to the restaurant. So you bring your husband or your spouse who don't pay anything. All that you need to do is to buy food and stay here, watch TV, buy drinks, and that is the business.
Established in 1907, Husband Daycare Center is located at the waterfront, a major tourist center in Cape Town. It sits close to the harbor. A river close by, a sight to behold for the relaxing visitor. Center manager Patience Noah says all one needs is to entrust her husband in their care, and they will make him happy.
We all know that ladies, they love shopping, but they are undecided, and men are not so patient, right? So you come here, we give you a spot to sit, you watch TV, there's some sporting channels, and there's some free things. So we keep you entertained while your people are shopping in the mall. Then when they're done, they come and fetch you. So that's the art of being a husband daycare center. So what simply means is you won't get bored. We have entertainment for you, and you still have got food available. Wow. So instead of
want to leave the husband here, and what is the reason?
It's free of charge. All you have to do is just to trust us. If your husband leave him in our care, then the rest will be sorted. All you have to do is to pay for his food and drinks. That's it. Live band is for free. You can watch any channel they want. That's why we've got a lot of TVs around.
Due to the huge visitor numbers over the years, the oldest restaurant in Cape Town was expanded in 2014. There is live band of various music genres to keep customers entertained. Madame Noah says between 1,000 and 1,500 customers visit daily.
This place downstairs alone is like a 300-seater. Upstairs is a 200-seater. So it's a 500-seater. So usually for downstairs when customers come, they can maybe sit for 2 hours or 2 hours, 30 minutes, and then they leave, then another one comes. So we can just say from 11 o'clock up until 12 o'clock divided with 2 hours. And we are usually full house, and we'll be having a waiting queue outside there. So yeah, so maybe I can say per day, we can speak of maybe between 1,000 to 1,500 people per day. Yeah, wow. Something like that.
Good business here.
At the end of the day, it's all about the grace of God.
Quay 4 is just an epitome of how well the hospitality industry has positioned itself in South Africa's economic mix. Can the same be said of Ghana? Are players in the local industry innovative enough to take advantage of tourism? Prince Apia reporting.